Es gibt hin und wieder eine Diskussion darüber, ob es richtig ist zu sagen, Deutschland existiert seit 1000 oder seit 2000 Jahren. Die Vertreter der einen Ansicht sagen, es begann mit den Ottonen, irgendwann im 9. Jahrhundert. Es begann mit der Reichsteilung, mit dem Begriff Just. Andere sagen, im Grunde genommen, wenn wir Deutschland als das Kernland aller germanischen Völker betrachten, begann es schon viel früher, begann es mit dem Freiheitskampf des Hermann, den die Römer Arminius nannten, gegen die römischen Legionen. Aber gleich viel, liebe Kameradinnen und Kameraden, liebe Teilnehmer, gleich viel, ob wir davon ausgehen, dass es Deutschland erst seit 1000 Jahren gibt oder zumindest die Keimzelle für unser späteres nationales Erwachen schon weitere 1000 Jahre vorher gelegt wurde. Eines weiß ich genau, wir als die Glieder einer langen Kette haben daran unseren Anteil. Wir als politische Aktivisten haben daran unseren besonderen Anteil, gerade auch mit Veranstaltungen zum Tag der Deutschen Zukunft. Gewiss ist für mich, auch in 1000 Jahren wird es noch Deutschland geben und wird es gemäß der verfassungsgemäßen Formulierung das Land der Deutschen, des deutschen Volkes sein. Ich danke euch für euren Einsatz dafür.
This is Josh Friedman. I am speaking with Christian Worch.
Hello, Josh.
And we are near Dusseldorf in a town that I'm struggling to pronounce. Can you help me out with this?
The name of the town is Mönchengladbach.
Mönchengladbach.
Yes.
Yeah, not bad.
That's very well. Nearby correct.
Okay, so I've conducted many interviews with refugees over the past several months or more. And what I've not gotten a lot of is a perspective on the opposite end of the spectrum. So Christian, I think you're going to provide that perspective to me. I'd like to get into a little bit on the current situation in Germany, but before that, I'd like to talk about your past.
Yes.
And can you start by introducing yourself a little bit and your political views, and then go into what has gotten you in trouble with the authorities in Germany?
Yes. I'm a right-wing activist since nearby 40 years. From the real far right. And you perhaps...
What is the real far right?
A little bit fascisticated, a little bit like neo-Nazi, you can call how you want.
Okay, a little neo-Nazi, a little fascist.
Yes.
Okay.
And you perhaps have learned that we have in Germany not a First Amendment of the Constitution, and that the freedom of speech in Germany is less than in the United States or in the United Kingdom or in other countries. And so I have spent 5.5 years of my life in prison because of so-called hate speech and of using swastikas and other emblems which are not legal in Germany.
I'd like to go through your convictions on a case-by-case basis. What was the first crime you committed in Germany that caused you to go to prison?
The first time I was 6 weeks in prison because they assumed me of planning a terrorist activity, but that was not right. I was released after 6 weeks because a higher judge, a judge of the Supreme case, checked the files and see that there was no case, so they released me. After that, the next time...
hold on. Why were you under investigation? Were you part of some right-wing organization that the German authorities were targeting? How did this come about?
Oh, no, I was not a member of an organization at this time because we was a circle of people having parts in demonstrations, spreading flyers, publishing some very small magazines with a small number of exemplars we spread into the people, and we have ideas they did not like.
Such as?
Such as the ideas of the historic National Socialism. It is banned in Germany. After we have lost the war, National Socialism is banned in Germany.
Okay, so this I think leads into your later convictions. What were you convicted of after that first terrorism incident?
I was convicted because of speech in demonstrations, because of so-called spreading hate against Jews or against foreigners or against left-wing activists. All of this, or a lot of this, is illegal in Germany.
What were you saying about Jews and foreigners?
About Jews I did not say really much, and I don't want to repeat it, because even if we speak in English language, it's possible that this take was seen by German people who speak English, and then I repeat these illegal meanings. That is not a good idea in Germany. Foreigners, my meaning is there are too much foreigners living in Germany.
Okay, I guess we'll get into that later, because there are obviously even more foreigners.
Yes, a lot more, yes.
Okay, and you were...
Thanks to Mrs. Merkel.
When you were convicted of this hate speech, was that through your writing or publication in magazines? Was it through giving speeches?
Both of this, or giving interviews to the mass medias.
On television, in the newspaper?
Yes.
Okay, and all of your convictions after the first so-called terrorism incident had to do with hate speech?
Only with hate speech. Without killing somebody, without injuring somebody, without burning some houses down or doing things like this. We didn't do all of this. We only have an opinion, and we only spreaded our opinion, and some of our opinions are illegal under the German law.
In the United States, there's something called incitement, whereby people can be prosecuted for something they say that causes people to go out and commit crimes or cause violence. Did anything you had to say in your magazines or in your speeches lead to violence?
No. We didn't spread the idea that violence is to use in political struggle. We spread the ideas that the National Socialism was not so bad as it is told, that it has had its good parts, and even this in Germany is dangerous to say. That could bring you into the prison real quick.
Why don't we get into it right now, because I know some of the audience wants to hear. Can you tell me what are the good parts of National Socialism?
A little bit hard to explain in English language. I will try to do it. Because in the time of the National Socialism, Germany was strong in the world. The German people was closed together. The German word is Volksgemeinschaft. There was solidarity between them. Today we see everybody is only working for his own goals. We see there are no real families. We see the number of elder people is growing, the number of children is much too small. We see all these problems of a modern society, and we haven't had the most of these problems in the time of the National Socialism. So that is the reason why we are the meaning that the National Socialism was not so bad as it is told.
Why don't we get into the present? In the past year, there have been more than 1 million refugees who have come in here. Once Chancellor Merkel welcomed them in. And now you've gotten some months to see how they're integrating, how they're adapting, and how society is accepting them in Germany. Can you tell me what's going on now with the refugees here?
I think the most of them are not integrated, and I think the most of them did not want to integrate themselves, or it will be for the German society very, very hard to integrate them, even if they, for themselves, want it. I think it's not possible to bring the most of them in an employment, because maybe they have had work in their own countries. But when I worked as, let me say, as a taxi driver in Damascus, that did not mean that I could work as a taxi driver in Berlin or in Hamburg, because at first I must know the language of the country. Otherwise, I could not communicate with my guests. I have to know the streets of the city where I'm driving taxi, and I have to know the local law. And if I should learn all of this, it will need perhaps 2 or 3 years.
Okay, let's say that that refugees come here and they take 2 or 3 years to develop their German and to develop their skill set here locally, as it applies locally.
Do you mean?
Then, do you have a problem with them working here?
Do you mean it is possible for them to? It is necessary for them to learn German if there is a closed community speaking their own language? That is one of the problems. If I am alone in a foreign country, of course, I have a strong motivation to learn this language. Otherwise, I could not communicate with anybody. As I and my whole family and the family of my best friend and the whole clan are in a foreign country, there is no really need for me to learn this language. And this great number of people, especially from the Arabic room, from the Arabic countries, means that there's a kind of second society in Germany. We have learned it by the immigrants from the Turkey. A lot of them came to Germany for work, but a lot of them lived in Germany without speaking any word German, because it's not necessary for them. There are doctors, there are lawyers, there are translators for them. They are living in their own closed community.
Do you have an issue with refugees, or for that matter, immigrants, coming here if they do learn the language, if they do integrate?
If the number is not too great, I did not think that there's a problem. But a real great number is a problem, because at first, the number of jobs we have in Germany is not endless great. So there will be a struggle between Germans and foreigners for these jobs. The second, the number of rooms, of flats, of houses is not endless great. And there will also be a struggle between Germans and foreigners for having a room and so on. The next is, until they perhaps could be employed, it is the need that they are living from the social system. And the social system is paid by tax of Germans. And I think there is not enough money, or the money is also needed for other things. So they are costing a lot of money. I didn't think we have it.
What is your take on the social system? Because many people would say that the social system, the welfare benefits, is what entices refugees and immigrants to come here to begin with.
A lot of them, of course.
Do you think Germany should have such a large welfare system? Or do you think that there should be rules that simply say it's for Germans? Or what's your position on
this? That's a very great problem. Under the German constitution, it's not legal to say participants of the German social system should only be Germans, because under the constitution of the Federal Republic of Germany, everybody is equal. And you can't give a number of people, the origin Germans perhaps, more rights than other people. So we can't differentiate this under the German constitution.
And do you think the constitution should be amended to change that?
That's one choice, and the other choice is to control the borders, to bring back a greater number of these foreigners, these refugees, back to their own countries, if we are able to make these countries sure that there will be no civil war, that there will be no of all these other problems who brings people to fly from their countries, or to bring them to other European countries. But the most other European countries did not want to have these refugees, or did not want to have a great number of these refugees.
What about the idea of only bringing in the doctors and the lawyers? I mean, not specifically the doctors and the lawyers, but bringing in people who will integrate much quicker, or do you not believe that there is such a possibility?
It's not the question whom we want to bring in, but it is in the moment the question who comes and how did we deal with those people who comes from the Balkan route or who comes from the Mediterranean Sea route. They come to the European borders, and the very most of them wants to go to Germany because they have learned that in Germany they could live better than in other European countries, much better. And today's German government is not willed and is not able to handle this problem. Mrs. Merkel has said, the Syrian people, everybody of you who has fear to be killed in the civil war can come to us. So he opened the border, and that was a really bad idea.
What is your position on the European Union? Obviously, Germany is the major player in the European Union, but much of this mass migration is something that is brought about by the European Union.
Germany is not the greatest player in the European Union. You can see it when you learned about the rules of the European Court. In the rules of the European Court there are two official languages, English and France, and German is not an official language when you want to go to the European Court. They allowed you to use the German language, but it is not an official language under the light of the rules of this court. The next time is maybe German for itself alone is the greatest, the strongest country in the European Union. Germany is greater and stronger than Great Britain or than France. But Great Britain and France together are much stronger than Germany alone. We have learned it in 2 world wars. And now I did not mean the military question, but now I mean the question of economic power. The economic power of Great Britain and France together is greater than the economic power of Germany. So we are not the number one in Europe.
Do you want to get out of the European Union?
Yes.
And if you do get out, what kind of relationship would you like with the rest of Europe?
Oh, the relationships with other countries was good, even in the time there was no European community or European Union. And at first, in the moment we have no own money. That means the value of our money is not a question of our own economic power, but also a question of the economic power of all countries in the European Union. That means we could work as hard as we want, but our money has no great value because perhaps other people did not work so hard as we. Next point is, we have no control about our borders. Try to tell this a citizen of the United States that there's no border patrol at the border to Mexico. He would say, "You are kidding. All those Mexicans will come to us. Will take our jobs, will take our homes, and perhaps, if we are unlucky, will take our women."
There are many people saying, not so much the women, but saying a lot of that already.
Yes,
there's
the jobs at homes.
There's a border patrol in the States, but it's often not stopping people at the border. But it's not like what what happened here.
It closes the number of people crossing the border. It's not possible to make a border a real great border, real close. That's no question. If anybody wants to find a way, and if he has a chance to try it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 1 time he will come, of course, no question. But if you have a border control and a closed border, you can be sure only the fittest and the strongest people came to you. Survival of the fittest.
So that's the kind of, I guess we've maybe found the kind of immigration you like here.
That's also one of the ideas of fascistic parties and one of the ideas of national socialistic parties, because mankind belongs to nature, even if we are civilized, and nature prefers the fittest. It did not prefer those who are not so fit.
You're advocating social Darwinism.
I don't understand this word. Sorry, my English is not good
survival
enough.
Of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. But then my question would be, wouldn't that be more of a libertarian stance? Wouldn't survival of the fittest suggest government gets out of the way? There isn't this big social welfare system, and people can come in, and if they can work and make it, they survive in Germany. If not, they leave.
I think that ideas will go to a kind of anarchy and perhaps to a kind of civil war. I think this is a little bit too dangerous. Of course, there must be a government, and of course, we must have control about our borders, and that don't mean only the border around Europe, it also means the borders in Europe.
There was something we touched on a little bit earlier about the family and how you were saying that you believe National Socialism encourages the family as opposed to the structure of government right now doing the opposite. There have been some people saying that the refugees are needed not because they need to be helped, but in order to replace the dying population.
Mm-hmm.
What is, if you have a National Socialist government, how would that government go about addressing population decline?
The greatest problem with our dying people is that there are not enough children, not enough youth, and that is in one part an economic problem, and in the other part it is a psychological problem, because the younger generations want to have their own lives. They did not want to have children because they have learned to have children is a lot of work, a lot of stress, of struggle. This situation, this psychological situation, is to be changed. That is the first. And the second is, there must be also the economic situation for the families, that they are perhaps free of tax and get other help, that a family with a lot of children is not poor because of the lot of children.
Okay, you said that the tax is a burden on the family, but are you suggesting at the same time for there to be social benefits to help lift up the family, to encourage reproduction? How would the social welfare system be?
That is really difficult for me to explain an economic system or economic problems in English language. One of the problems I told you is that you can't different in Germany between the origin Germans living here and between foreigners living here.
I'm asking if your type of government, if there was a national socialist government, then what would the welfare system be like?
We will reduce the welfare system for foreigners, of course, because of the interests of our own people. We only want these foreigners living in Germany, which are able to pay for themselves and did not need our social system. It's the same situation in America. If you want to have a green card, you must show the authorities, the immigration control, that you are able to work for the money you need to live. I, as a German, can go to America and can say I want to live in America by the social system. That's not possible.
It's happening to some extent, but not to the extent that it is here. Definitely, it doesn't stack up, but yes. Right now, where does free speech or lack thereof stand in Germany? What are this conversation that we're having? What of this are you allowed to say in public? What of this are you allowed to discuss with people? Do people just get too nervous or scared, or how do they react if you speak with other Germans about this?
Most of this is no problem to say in the public, but this German law is very difficult. Perhaps you should ask a lawyer. Sometimes it is only one word more or less which makes the difference between a speech which is legal or which is not legal. If I say the most immigrants are not willed to work, that is legal. If I say all immigrants are not willed to work, it is not legal.
And that is because you are addressing an entire group?
Yes, the whole group. Not only a part of the group, but the whole group.
So if you say all immigrants are not fit to work, and that's broadcasted in the newspaper or on television, what would happen?
I think I would be prosecuted.
And this has happened before, you're speaking from experience?
It happens in earlier years, yes.
Touching back on the earlier times, what years was this? This was when you were prosecuted and put in jail for hate speech. When was this?
The first time was in the year 1978.
And was this in West Germany?
Yes, it was in West Germany. That was in Hamburg. I'm origin not of the new countries of Germany. I'm origin of West Germany, the old Federal Republic. And the first time I was in prison from 1980 up to 1983, 3 years. And then later I was in prison 1986, 1987 for a few months, and last time for 1.5 years in the years 1996 and 1997. Means nearby 20 years ago the last time. Because of but I will finish the sentence. Because after a few years you learn where the border is between this, what is legal and what is not legal. It's a very difficult border.
And currently, do you think you have more free speech or less than
Less.
you did when you're getting prosecuted?
I think less. There was some emblems and symbols adapted to old National Socialist symbols, which could be used in the public until I think 1990 roundabout. Then they changed the law that not only the original swastika was banned, but also every symbol which is similar to the swastika. The next time is in earlier years up to until 1985, you are allowed in a mass demonstration to wear a helmet for the case that counter-demonstrators will throw stones or glasses or something like this. But since 1985, you are not allowed to do so.
Do you believe in free speech? What is your position when it comes to speech? Do you believe in American-style free speech? Do you think the government should curtail it more?
Yes, of course. Of course. If you don't say that somebody has to be killed or has to be serious injured, then I believe in freedom of speech. And when somebody wants to say Christian Worch is a rat, I don't care about. Other people, when I say Mrs. Merkel is a rat, I think I will be prosecuted. But I think it is not necessary for prosecute people because of having an opinion, and when they want to bring this opinion out to the public.
Okay, I think we're out of time. Christian, thank you very much.
No matter, I thank you.
And hopefully this conversation is not going to result with another prison sentence for you.
If this will be happen, I take it easy.